which we have done in the past. Our next speaker is Nish. Nishant is a student who is going to go to University of Kiel. So he took 1 year gap year, and he's going to share his experience of what he did during those 12 months and how he successfully managed to get back into a medical uni. So over to you, Nish.
Hello, everyone. As Dr. Anand just introduced, my name is Nish, and I just wanted to talk about gap year as it is, because I was in a similar situation last year, a few days before my results day, not knowing, a bit scared of the prospect of going into a gap year. So I just wanted to, make sure that students and parents are reassured that it's a time of reflection, time of improvement as well. So as after I had my results day, I was a bit scared and a bit uncertain that I was going into a gap year, and of course doing the UCAT again, and I also did the BMAT as well. That put a little bit of extra pressure on me as well. But I think after I had crossed that barrier of doing the aptitude tests again, I took time to reflect what I was unsuccessful at the previous year. So regarding my interviews, for example, as I've written here, taking a more goal-oriented approach, I took more ownership for all the mistakes that I've done and all the decisions that I'm making as well. But I think what mainly I did differently was my time management. Because when you're in your A-level studies and you're getting interviews, it's really hard to manage your time. It's hard to form a plan. But after when I'm in my gap year, I had the luxury of not having to do studies, so I was more focused in my interviews and other things that I will explain as well. Being in a gap year is, I think, a time of experimenting. It's a bit of character building as well. And I did this by doing various work experience opportunities, especially in Bradford Royal Infirmary for 1 week, going around the different specialities, learning all the the key values that you must have heard in your interviews, like teamwork, empathy, communication. So just further building my application. I think that's a key thing when going into gap year. Although you have a year out, it's still important to build your application, do more work experience, and volunteering in a care home, as I did as well. Those are key experiences that you can talk about in your interviews. You can elaborate more, and it just builds, as I said, builds your application. During the interview time, where normally the interviews do come in, I wanted to build my application and build what I wanted to say in my interview by working in a tutoring center. So I was a tutor, teaching maths and English to younger students, and that further built the skills that I said before, made me prioritize different tasks, work in pressurized situations, and learn the importance of the key values of integrity, reliability that you must have heard of as well. But I think one thing that I did differently in terms of my experiences were helping in my local community. I didn't have the opportunity during my school years to really dive into the community work. So helping out in my local church, supporting a community cafe where I was serving and helping people in the community with food and talking to them. That further built up, confidence and made me make sure that I was understanding the value of community spirit. In terms of the interview, as you can read on my slide that I took, I learned the importance of teamwork. I learned the importance of communication skills, and I was able to further say this in my interview. And I think one of the key people that did help me get into, Keele Medical School was Abhishek, who was talking at the start. Meeting him, meeting new people, and also the support of my family played a really big part in, getting a medical seat. So I just, want to thank Dr. Eliel for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all. I just wanted to reassure parents that it is, and students as well, that it can be daunting because it's a year out and you might see your friends in university and you're at home. But I think having that mindset of, wanting to improve, wanting to stay motivated and do medicine, and, taking it step by step is key. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nish. That will be quite helpful for people who might feel, end of the world if they can't get it in the first time. Either you had difficulties in your A-level exams or UCAT or in your interviews. Thank you very much. Nish will be available until the end if you have any particular questions. We just swiftly move on to our penultimate speaker, Dr. Sanjay Rajpal. Generally, there is a saying, say to, people who are happy are those, who feel grateful and then want to give back to the community. Sanjay is a very busy practicing doctor, a surgeon working in the NHS, and he wants to, as a parent, he is going to talk about the amount of research he has done for studying in Europe. Please note that we do not advocate any. We are not an agency, or we don't advise. We don't do that. It's just part of the information sharing we have organized this event today. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you, Eliel and team, and a very good evening to all the parents and students there. Just following on my son's talk, I'd just like to add a little bit more perspective to what was happening in that gap year. So Nish did well in his A-level grades, but his UCAT scores were on the lowest side, and with all the COVID fiasco and stuff, it was quite tricky for him to get in after his A-levels. So in addition to preparing for his UCAT, BMAT, we also started looking at Plan B. So fortunately, Plan B did not have to take place because he was successful in getting in Keele, but we started preparing. So I'm just going to share some of the work which we did. So, when you start exploring what are the options outside the UK, you suddenly stumble upon a whole world of friends of friends of friends who have either a child or or someone who's studying in Europe. So it actually opens the world. For us, what was quite helpful was my wife was also a medic. One of her trainees whom she was mentoring had studied in Prague. So she was super impressed with this junior doctor whom she was mentoring to get into obs and gynae. And then while we had Nish charting his journey towards getting into medicine in UK, we were hearing what options were available in Europe. So that's how our foray into medicine outside UK started. So just next slide, please. So when we look at it broadly, what are the considerations, for picking up a medical school or a country to put your child? We thought the mode of instructions. Most of these degrees are English taught, but you have to be mindful that after you finish the basic science, when you attend the clinicals, you will have to interact with real patients who not everybody will be English speaking. So all of these courses in Bulgaria, in Czech Republic, you will need to learn their language, which forms a part of the curriculum for the first couple of years. Then the European degree and most other foreign degrees, they have a traditional form of curriculum, which includes, as outlined earlier, a couple of years of basic science followed by clinical. And usually the degrees run for a 6-year duration, and you come out with an MD. The most important thing from our point of view as parents was also to see what was the route to integration in the UK. So presuming the children do want to come back and work in the NHS, being close to their families. So for this reason, the universities which were, towards just outside the European Union were thought to be less favorable from our perspective as parents, because it's easier to get GMC registration, although there is something called a UK MLE coming up in the next few years. The next consideration was, what is the annual fees for each of these courses? And that might play a big role, because when children go to the university here, you do get student loans, but when you're sending them abroad, majority of this you have to pay for. So that's important from a financial perspective. And also the university you pick up, the cost of living expenses would come. For example, in Czech Republic, if you're in Prague, your cost of renting an accommodation, travel, etc., would be at least 25 to 30% higher than a city just outside Prague. So that's something to bear in mind. The social aspects which I see are, do they have a cohort of students from the UK whom they can work with, they can live with, and they're well supported? The other aspect is, is there a direct flight to get home, and things like that. So those were the considerations we had, and while we started exploring, and I'm sure there'll be many other points which I have not added on. So next slide. So Priya, next slide, please. Thank you. So just go back. So we looked at, I'm just going to start from the bottom of the list. So we consider many options, but I'm just going to say broadly the countries which we explored. So the Republic of Ireland was something which was surprising, which we never considered about, but somebody brought to our notice. So the advantage of taking up a medical degree in Republic of Ireland is basically it's still considered to be a part of the UK. GMC approve the degrees, and if you complete a house job there, you don't need to repeat FY1 and FY2. So, and it's English taught, so children don't need to learn any other language. So those are the positives. The further positive is you would be considered as an EU candidate paying 6,000 euros. The cons are it's not easy to get in. They have an aptitude test similar to the UCAT, which is much more difficult. Nish did prepare and apply, but when we looked at it even further, when they stack up all the results and the scores, the odds of getting in are very, very small. So, it's open. People can just look up on their website, read up their entry criteria, and make their own choices. But that was a very, very lucrative option, but highly, highly competitive and very difficult to get in. So, going further up, Croatia, because I have a work colleague who's from Croatia, and those universities were advertised, so I managed to speak to them. It's again a traditional curriculum. They have a lot of people there speak English, so it's quite easy for our children to be there, live there, and it's pretty safe from what I heard. Again, as you reach the clinical years, you need to learn the local language, but it sounds to be pretty much similar curriculum and well accredited schools. So there are a couple of schools in Croatia. Bulgaria you heard about, and I'm sure you will hear from the speaker after me, whose child is studying in Bulgaria, giving you a little bit more detail. Slovakia, it's not very far from Czech Republic, so it was one of the schools we looked at. They are also English speaking, a lot more English speaking than you imagine. The school has got good reputation. The reason why we were not so pushed to go there is we did not have any contacts who are actually studying there. The fees are actually much more competitive than the other places. We then explored Italy, where they have quite a few private universities. So when you look at the Italian universities, there's a lot of English-speaking courses available, but you're pretty much specifically looking for the private medical schools. The Italian medical schools will also allow English. They have English, even the standard, the state schools who are not advertised as private, they also have places for foreign graduates. The problem is their exams, the aptitude test, are very late on, closer to October, and it's not very clear what are the odds of getting in. But if you get in the public school in the standard recruitment, like we have a national UCAS selection here, then the fees are also quite low. But I suspect the odds are very difficult. So your private medical schools are the best bet. There are a couple in Rome and in Milan, and the curriculum seems to be quite good. It is highly popular with Indian origin children from the Middle East, particularly the Gulf, and so that's something to look at. Cyprus was another place we looked at in Nicosia, because we had a friend who's from Cyprus who had been working with my wife, and she'd relocated. So we got some good input. So the schools are very, very good. They have been newly built, but I think there was a question mark about the clinical experience. Often the Cypriots, they go into mainland Greece to get clinical experience. So that was something which was off-putting, along with the high fees. So we explored Czech Republic quite a bit, and in reality, we took 2 trips out there. One as a part of a half-term break initially to see the country, and we were lucky to have one of our friends' child. She was doing her final year dentistry there, so she took us around. This was not in Prague. This was in Palaki, which is outside Prague, 2-3 hours train travel. So she showed us around, and being there physically reassured us that it's a very safe country. A lot of people speak English, and it'll be easy for them. Then when we decided we might be going for further, we took another trip, and we actually went to each of those universities where we thought we'd be applying and taking up. So as mentioned earlier, each of these universities have some form of entrance exams, and a lot of them would include mathematics, chemistry, biology, and physics. So our children take 3 subjects. So there can be an element of anxiety for a child who's not been doing physics since GCSE, or a child who's not been doing maths since GCSE. So they give you the curriculum, and often it's at the GCSE level, but you do get support from the agencies or children before them whom you'd be meeting or you'll be getting contacts with. I also recommend all the prospective parents to actually go into each of these university websites. They have an English website as well with links on curriculum. Just don't rely on the agencies. Do your own homework. And if you email them, they're quite proactive in getting back to you. Some of the universities have also set up chat groups with student ambassadors, which is similar to the one we see in UK. So you can, your child can join those chat groups, speak to the children, and you'll often find there's a lot of children who are Asian heritage from Middle East and from UK there. So they would know, they'll be in your shoes, and they'll be able to guide you about what to do. So my final slide, I'm just going to share with you, the various agencies. So we were looking actively at Czech Republic, and we used Medical Doorway to help us. So they are quite familiar with the application process, and a lot of these documents have to be translated, legalized, etc. So they facilitate all of that. So you just need to, while you're planning to understand the process, use their website. There's a lot of free information, YouTube videos, and that will give you a perspective. So good luck to all the children and the prospective parents. I just finished my presentation with this. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Rajpal, for the whistle-stop tour of studying in Europe. I'm sure it will be comforting for students and parents who are doing the same, researching about Plan B, and feel that someone else had also done it, and then someone is willing to give a overview. Thank you very much. We now next go on to our final speaker, Dr. Shri. Dr. Shri is a pediatrician working in the NHS, and she's going to again share her views as a parent, of how things, how did you go about looking into research for studying in Europe, where her daughter is currently studying? Over to you, Dr. Shri.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I know how anxious this time is for everybody at the moment, but don't worry. Good luck to everyone. But if always better to have plan B. As I remember last year, my daughter was, had an offer from Keele University, did everything well and was very hopeful. And then she dropped a grade and then, she missed out an opportunity. So until then we were thinking of maybe Europe, maybe gap year, to be honest, we didn't have a clear plan B. So when it came as a shock, it was really whirled as if, for her, it was like, my goodness, she couldn't believe it. But then, you have to you have to swallow that and you have to plan what next and all. Reflecting on that experience, I would say that I'm sure most of you will get through, no problems. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. And then we can now look back at that experience and think, okay, maybe in a way it's good that it has happened, because now my daughter is studying and finished her first year medicine in Bulgaria, Varna University, and she's quite happy. And as parents, I'm quite happy. And so far, we don't have any complaints about it. So you do have other options. First, if you choose to study in Europe, you decide. You have to be prepared for it. It's not because your parents have said or somebody else have said. You have to make up your mind. So you do your research in the next 2 days. Go on to different websites and then find out what they feel like, and there's loads of information. Like, for example, Dr. Sanjay showed you Study Medicine Europe, and there are loads of agencies. Someone asked the question about how much do the agencies charge. They charge around 2,000. Some charge £1,500. Some charge 2,000, including flight tickets. When you get in, they drop you there. And then you have to sort out your own accommodation. There's also an agency which looks out for students and, sort out the accommodations as well. So it all depends on different agencies, but more or less all the agencies pretty much the same. You have to give an entrance exam, which is not very difficult, because the standard of UK A-levels is much higher compared to even US standard. As I have nephews and nieces studying in US, you have studied a much higher curriculum, chemistry-wise, whatever subjects you have taken. Yours is they studied that at university standards. So you can get through these entrance exams quite easily, at least so far, at least till last year. I've heard some rumors that they are making it difficult because they are getting competitive this year. I don't know about it, but still, even if it gets difficult, it will be not so difficult for you comparing to your A-level exams or, entrance exams. That's number one. And I looked at Prague or Sofia and Plovdiv. Plovdiv is quite popular in Bulgaria, but Prague, it was very popular. Now someone mentioned, I'm just saying what my experience has been. Someone mentioned that there are few students who didn't pass or something like that, they got stuck and all. So then someone suggested us not to go to Prague, and then we looked at Bulgaria. Bulgaria seems to be most popular at this point of time. It used to be Romania and a lot of other countries, but now Bulgaria seems to be popular with UK students. And I looked at Plovdiv, was my first choice, because a lot of students said very good things about that, and it's filled with UK students. But the problem was the commute. You have to go to Sofia and then 6-hour drive from Sofia. So we thought it's practically a little difficult. And Bulgaria, and then Sofia. Kirtana is studying in Sofia. Sofia is also a good university. It's like London, I've heard, quite big, and the classes are spread out all over Sofia. And then I chose Varna because we also knew somebody who were already studying, who's also medical people. Their children were studying, and I found out so many kids are already studying there in Varna. So I spoke to them, and they all said that it's a small place, everything is walkable distance, and it's a beachside city, quite popular for Europeans to go as a summer getaway. And Varna University is 150-year-old well-established university and teaches in English. They do have to learn Bulgarian, which my daughter has cracked it in no time. She said it's quite easy. There is nothing to worry about. It's apparently closer to Russian, but she can communicate to in the shops in Bulgarian. They do speak broken English, but they do respect students because they feel that they've come all the way to study in our city. So they do look after the children, and the population, I mean, people are very nice and friendly to students over there. Then what else? So it's a very well-established university. I did not have time to go and look at the university beforehand. But when I went there to join my daughter, I felt quite happy. It appeared much more, I'm from India, so it looked more like a medical university, well-established medical university in India with nice academic department and all. So I felt quite impressed. And I didn't get that feel in most of the UK medical schools that I have visited. They were all like just a couple of floors and that's it. Whereas this looked a bit more professional to me. And they do have dissection. And their curriculum is mostly theory based, just like as in India or Oxford, Cambridge, lecture based, first 3 years. And then it goes to clinicals. And they are quite robust. My daughter finished first year and the theory part that they study is really good. I didn't study it even in India, and I felt quite impressed, like how much even biomechanics, biophysics they are taught. So that's quite positive experience. Agency makes your life easy, but it is expensive. There are students who I know have done it on their own without worrying about going through agencies to save money for their parents. But it is quite hard because you need the documentations authorized and translated, all that. Agencies can help out all that. If you're confused and distressed already, it's better to give money to the agency and get it sorted. But if you can't, you can still do it, though it's a bit tricky. And if you know somebody over there, it might become easier a bit more. Coming to the degrees being recognized, they are very well recognized. In fact, all my colleagues are saying that they're seeing much more influx of Bulgarian doctors. And I'm aware of a lot of Bulgarian students who have come back to UK. They were UK school students who went to Bulgaria to study medicine, come back and happily secured foundation year places. And apparently I do hear while we talk about it that they do have a very good work ethics and work attitude and knowledge. So that just kind of makes me feel happy. And lots of German students are there, and lots of Indian students who come from India, and lots of UK students are there. It's filled with the UK students. So they are familiar with your A-levels and all that. And they do coordinate holidays, Christmas holidays, then Easter holidays. And, my daughter could come once every couple of months. She could have come more, but she chose not to. And there are flights operating from Luton Airport almost every day. Whereas from Liverpool, it's to Varna is twice a week. And it's just 3.5 hours. In my experience, it's been easier than going to London. So we didn't have any problems going to Varna at all. Recognition-wise, from the next year onwards, PLAB will be scrapped, I heard, and then every student who will graduate will have to do UK MLA, whether you study in UK or abroad. So it's not going to make much difference. So all medical students will have to write MLA and pass, and then only get the GMC accreditation. So it's going to be the same, universal for everybody. What else? Yeah, weather is good. It's beach and everything seems fine. So far, so good. Yeah, positive experience, I would say. Any more questions? Or and they do understand our A levels, so they do regard even B is high for them because they know that you go through a stronger curriculum than them. So even your B is regarded as high for them. So if you drop a grade, don't worry. It's still, they respect you. They take you with respect because they respect UK curriculum and A levels much higher.
What about fees, expenses?
Fees. My daughter has taken a private. They don't have university accommodation. All students take private accommodations. To be honest, in the last 1.5 years since Ukraine war, with influx of Ukraine asylum seekers and all over Europe, the cost of living has gone quite considerably high. I have noticed. My daughter went in October. I went to drop her in October. And then again, I went in June. There's a significant change.
Plan B.
Sorry? Yeah, the significant change. A flat with 2-bedroom flat comes up to like decent one can be 800 to 1,400 levs, which is almost translates at 2 levs equal to £1. So 50%, like I would say like £800, 2-bedroom flat. So each can be £400 per month, plus food and all that. And tuition fee is similar as Keetana said, like per year, it's around 8,000 to 9,000. There is a chance that it may go up this year because of the demand.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Shri. Thanks for your, you have covered many questions and FAQs, and I'm sure it will be reassuring to the parents. We will post the recording in the group. And if you have...
Just ask one question, sorry, one. Possible?
So please post your any queries in the chat box, and we'll try to answer. We wanted to finish on time, and so we'll come back to the question in a bit. Before we finish off, can I ask Priya to come and thank the speakers, and then we'll have a few minutes of question and answer time at the end. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Hi, everyone. My name is Priya. I am the admin for Educate the World. Many of you know my face. I have been in contact with a lot of you for previous events that we have run. I want to thank all the speakers today, Abhi, Nish, Anita, Keetana, Sanjay, Uncle, and Shriyanti, for taking the time out of their busy schedule to talk in today's seminar. I hope you all found this session very useful and very helpful. And we will post the recording on our website, www.educatetheworld.co.uk. Thanks again for joining today's session, and I hope you all have a nice evening.
Okay, thank you. And first, we'll go through the few questions in the chat box. I hope people can, all the speakers can stay for 10 more minutes. We'll finish within that time. There is a question about whether the degrees in Europe, especially in Bulgaria, are recognized by the GMC. Shri, do you wanted to answer that? I mean, as you said, UK MLE is going to be a standard from next year or the year after. Do you want to comment on it?
Until now, the UK students needed to take only a Latin exam. Just to, it's kind of a namesake. It's very easy. Whereas Indian students are students who are non-speaking English countries, like India is considered even though we study in English. So these Indian students have to take TOEFL, IELTS. Whereas UK students don't need to take IELTS because you've already born and brought up in UK schools. So UK students don't have to take that. But Indian students, yes, have to take IELTS and have a good grade. UK students so far needed to take only one Latin exam with some medical terms just to test your knowledge, which was apparently very easy. But anyway, this is going to go, and everybody, including UK graduates, have to take UK MLA from 2024, I think, onwards. as an exit exam. So it will be universally same for every medical student.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shri.
There is one more question about entrance exam. Sorry, Dr. El. The question is about when do the entrances happen? If you decide to take a gap year, there are entrances happening they begin from April and then they continue till end of August, I think. And September 1st is the last entrance exam. So my daughter didn't take the exam until the A-level results came, and she took it on September 1st. So you still have some exams, 2 or 3 left out by the time your results come out. One in end of August and one probably September. So you need to find out from the agencies. And you will have, if you sit 1 week with your background chemistry and biology knowledge, you'll crack the exam easily.
Okay, thank you, Shri. Keerthana, do you want to share your experience? You must be missing home. How often do you come to see your family in London from Bulgaria?
Yeah. So I come every few months. If, say, I want to come back for a specific weekend or anything like that, I can just book a ticket. And usually they have, especially from Sofia, since it's the capital, there's many flights going to the UK, anywhere really, any airport. So it's easy to book and just come back home. Yeah.
Okay. Can I also ask you, there is a question, either you or Shri can answer. Does the Bulgaria certificate accepted all Europe countries, or do they need to write exam for each country? I guess, yeah, Shri, over to you.
Until, see, the Brexit side effect, until Brexit happened, we are considered as a European student. So the students didn't even require a visa. But now, because we're outside European Union, you can go in and stay there as 3 months, for 3 months without visa. So you don't need visa to go and start your studies. But once you secure a place and start studying, you can then start the visa process, and it's quite easy to obtain. It's not a problem at all to get visa.
Thank you. Someone asked, what agency did you use? I mean, we don't want to promote any particular agency. So if either Shri or Keerthana, if you feel you can share, post it in the chat box. Okay. And the next question, is there any value in resitting A-level exams? Pros and cons. Nish, I don't know whether, can you answer? Did you think about it or?
I mean, I didn't think about it because I already had the grades. But regarding the other part of the question, is it possible to do the UCAT and BMAT again? Yeah, you can. You can do it every year, it's every yearly one cycle. So you can do UCAT and BMAT again. Resitting A levels and doing the UCAT BMAT. I don't know if you can apply in the same year if you're resitting A levels. I'm not too sure. I think you'd have to apply.
I can answer that. You cannot. You cannot. If you miss a grade, because you sit only the next year, and your results won't come out till the next year, and then you won't be able to apply. So it is hard. You have to, and then once you resit, there are very few universities that allow resits. So it's better you don't have an offer, but you get a good grades. But if you get an offer and you drop the grades, it's going to be tricky. And then you need to consider your options strongly. That's why we didn't want to take any gap year.
That's a very good point. It's better to get a low UCAT or do badly in the interview than getting your A levels. Am I right, Shri?
Absolutely. A level, unfortunately, after going through so much of stress, the UK universities expect the children to do well in the final one. I find this a bit unfair, but once you drop a grade, then it's a very difficult ball game. Even if you take a gap year, people have done it. I would say, personally, I would feel better you take a graduate route or explore Europe rather than, hope for the best. It is very tricky, and I've hardly seen anybody who are dropped the grades and then getting back the next year. I have not seen anybody in the recent times.
Okay, that's a good point, actually. So, there are so many things, isn't it? You need to, it's a very stressful time for children. You need to concentrate on your A-levels, UCAT, BMAT, and then the personal statements. But looks like, the most important bit is your A-level grade. So probably, keep doing that. And another question, is it possible to do UCAT and BMAT again this year, resit A-level and apply this year to medical school if you don't get the required grades by medical school?
Dr. Anand, I just wanted to add one thing if you give me a chance.
Okay,
reset, we have 3 admissions in a year, January, May, and September. If there is anybody who want to apply, they can always apply in these 3 admissions times that we have.
So so this is to the Barbados American Medical School.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So people have contacts. Even after this, if you have any queries, I hope most of you are part of our WhatsApp group. If not, ask Priya, our admin. She will add you to the group, and then we will be in touch with the speakers. So going back to the query, UCAT and BMAT again, can you again do it this year? Who can answer that?
I would say...
Sorry, you can
okay, Nish first and then Shri.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I answered that. You can do your UCAT and BMAT again. If you've got the grades and that's all fine, then you can do it again. But as I think Shriyanti said, the resitting is a very complicated process. So yeah.
It's very stressful. I personally find, because I am an examiner for medical students and I've heard many experiences, resits are very difficult to kind of get back into the system. It takes 2 years, and I've seen in the last few years, I've not seen any getting in back in. So it's better to have the grades, though you don't have offers or anything this year. Don't worry. If you have secured the grades, then you're in a good place. Don't be disappointed. Then I would suggest take a gap year, but big warning. Taking a gap year can be detrimental if you do not structure it, what you're going to do, and plan it and implement it. Otherwise, gap year can be wasted. Okay. Secure good grades. And if you don't have offers or anything, do not worry. You can try again, write UCAT, BMAT, and then if you drop the grade, but you did have a offer and then you lost it, still don't worry. But I would think carefully about resitting the exams, A-level exams next year. It's quite stressful. Very few universities accept resits, and the chances go down very narrowly. You are narrowing your chances, and then whether you want to go for graduate entry, probably that is better, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Shri. We also had in our previous talks people who have gone down the graduate routes. And also recently we had someone who had studied in Europe and has successfully been working in London as a junior doctor. So those videos are on our website, www.educatetheworld.co.uk. There is a question by Sumi Mani. Do you want to, I think, probably we didn't understand you. So maybe if you want to, you can unmute and ask the question by audio. Probably then we'll be able to answer that.
Thank you. Sorry for that, because this was a bit of a typing, and as it goes, so I could not write it. So what I asked is like the Bulgaria University certificate, will be whether it will be accepted in all the European countries, or do they need to write the exam each country to practice in the European countries?
I gather every country has its own entry exam to get into their medical system for obvious reasons. Like US has USMLE, UK has PLAB so far, and then it will change to UKMLA. I'm not sure about other European countries. Whether even if you're graduated from UK, you can't go to US, because UK, even if you do it in a London UCL, you still have to do MLE. So it's same for any medical degree. Sorry. Every country has their own entrance test, I guess, and or regulations that you need to find out. I'm not sure about other European countries, but it's recognized by GMC as a, well-established medical training program, but all you have to do is you still have to pass PLAB or for international students, or just the Latin exam for UK school students who studied medicine in Bulgaria.
Okay, thank you.
I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any queries, people can always, we can catch up later. One final comment from Anita. Is there anything you wanted to say before we close the meeting, Anita?
No, I wish everybody all the best. And if there is anything, my WhatsApp number is on the chat. Do give me a call. I'm here for another month, so I can talk to you.
Okay, thanks everyone for spending their time on a Monday evening to come, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All the best to all the students.
Yeah, all the best. Thank you.